Hey everybody, thanks for being here. All right, welcome to our panel, Genre Blending or Bending in VGM. And you'll notice the L is capitalized because it shows up as, it looks like a 1 in certain fonts. So it would really confuse people. But when we came up with this idea, I was thinking about like who were the heaviest hitters that I could possibly think of to talk with me on this particular topic. And I think I've picked 3 of the best people, not only just the best people, but I consider them very good friends. So we're going to get into introduction shortly. I will say right away that you'll notice that one of us is missing. Ian Cowell could not make it due to circumstances way beyond his control, but we have figured out kind of a way to incorporate him into the content still. So it's going to be really tough to do this without him, but we're gonna do him proud. Okay, so let's all introduce ourselves and oh wait. See, notice I've rehearsed this. Okay, so just before we introduce ourselves, what is this? Like, what are we talking about? So if you're all here, you probably listen to video game music, and you may be drawn to one genre type or another. And you may be drawn to multiple genres. And there are definitely artists out there in general, not just video game music, that take those different genres and put them together into arrangements that complement each other, like different strengths, and that's why I use this image of Voltron. Like it's Voltron is the sum of his parts, and you put it together to put together this really cohesive, destructive robot. That's basically the kind of arrangements we're going to be talking about. Okay, then next, we will introduce ourselves. I keep putting that off. We're definitely going to be spending some time talking about ourselves, but then where our influences come from, what genres we enjoy, what genres we incorporate in our own arrangements. And this is the breaking it down part of it is going to be the most fun. So what we're going to do here is we're going to each take an arrangement of our own and talk about how we approached arranging it, basically take it apart and put it back together. Where it gets really fun is we've assigned mystery songs to each other, and the way this is going to work is we'll play like for example, Carrie assigned me a mystery song. It's possible I've heard it, but I probably haven't. So when I play it, it's going to be my first time ever hearing it, and I'll basically have 2 to 3 minutes to talk, just basically verbalize how I would arrange that particular song. And we're going to do it the same way both for Carrie and Tara sections. And then we will say goodbye and wish you a very good MAGFest. Now we can introduce yourselves. Carrie, why don't you go first?
Hi, my name's Carrie Wood, and I play with a band called Quick Save, and that's sort of my main squeeze these days. I also perform and arrange for the Baltimore Gamer Symphony Orchestra. We will talk a little bit more about what I do for them later, and I have also contributed to the virtual video game orchestra VVGo, as well as a smattering of other collabs and other projects over the last year and a half or so.
Go ahead, Tara.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tara. TeraCMusic on YouTube. I do a lot of video game cover arrangements, and I don't even know what else I have on here. I have contributed vocals and violin for Lord of the Rings Online, Soundfall, Mago, and oh yes, the Game Music Remix Awards of 2022. I was nominated for Best Album, Best Hybrid Cover, and Best Symphonic Cover.
Okay, so I'm just kind of going to read what Ian put here. Like, I can't possibly do an introduction of himself justice, but those of you who may know him, he's probably the biggest goofball and the dadliest dad that you could possibly think of. Yeah, just give Ian a round of applause. Hey, like we're recording this, we want to make sure that he watches this, and we've sufficiently inflated his ego. We love you, Ian. Yeah, so he's a guitarist, arranger, producer. The last album he put out was Exceptional Goblins, which is absolutely amazing. And he does his own solo stuff. He's in Birthday. He might be in a couple other groups. Like he's basically everywhere. And his visualist and video tomfoolery. So I'm not going to talk about that because it's just going to be better to show you, which is going to be coming right up. Okay, now I'll talk about me. This is the hardest part of the presentation. I'm a Best Album Award winner. I will hold that distinction for So the Game Music Remix Awards that Tara just mentioned, I won Best Album last year, and the nominations actually just opened like today. So everybody will be throwing the hat back in there. We'll see what I can pull off. No pressure. But I've been playing guitar since I was a teenager, but I really didn't get into music production and mixing and mastering and everything on the engineering side since maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I mean, that's where I've been like focusing a lot of my energy lately, especially with video game music, is on the production side. And recently, I've kind of been doing the genre blending thing. So obviously, that's why we're here. Looks good in a wetsuit. That is a clip from my Aquatic Ambience video. And very quick, funny story about this. I got in that wetsuit. And with the snorkel and all that stuff, and there was a landscaping contractor at my house, and he kept knocking on the door because he needed help, and I kept answering the door in the wetsuit. I was like, you know what? This is my life. I'm just going to own who I am, and this person may think I'm weird, but it's like this is what I do. And cat lover and herder, yes, I have many cats, and sometimes I visualize myself as a cat herder because I've really started working with collaborators in the past year and a half, and it sometimes feels that way. So anyway.
You want to herd cats, you can join QuickSave.
And they're almost all here, by the way. I see like pretty much all of QuickSave in the audience. Okay, QuickSave is here at the end.
It's fine.
Okay.
Don't give them any more.
So, as I said, I can't possibly do Ian justice, and I can't possibly introduce him. So I'm just going to show you what he does, and those of you who know him, you know what you're about to see. I'll play this for about a minute, and then you can make up your own mind about Ian and how. I'll just tell you that he's awesome. That's all. Give it up for Ann again, everybody.
It's the kind of like big goblin energy I like aspire to have one day.
Yeah, the only bummer thing is like if he were here, he would be performing tomorrow night, and we would obviously plug his performance, and it was pretty much rest assured he would be doing that song, and dancing with him, and he comes out into the audience to perform that song, and it's a good time. Okay, let's talk about our influences next. And Carrie, you're up.
Oh, I'm up first. I forget what I wrote. So we'll talk VGM and then non-VGM. So VGM wise, Motoi Sakuraba is the unattainable goal for me. I mean, he's so good. He's also just so good at working in different genres. Like, this is the guy who did Dark Souls, and then also the same guy who did like the Tales of series, and then Golden Sun, and all sorts of stuff. So he's all over the place. Epoch, who's the person behind the Paradise Killer soundtrack, really, really cool stuff. Masayoshi Soken. Beyond the FF14 original stuff, Soken's work at rearranging a lot of the older Nobuo Uematsu tracks, I love the way he approaches them. Also, I mean, Mario Hoops 3-on-3, what a fucking soundtrack, right? Jun Sonoe, Eric Barone, who better known as Concerned Ape, that's the person behind Stardew Valley. A lot of crazy stuff on that soundtrack. Shoji Meguro, Yoko Shimomura, all sorts of stuff. And then on the non-VGM side, I'm a little all over the place. This is more of like who influences my playing more so than who influences my arranging. I listen to a lot of bass. I'm a bassist. Fun fact. So that's why I like you guys Jocko and Brothers Johnson and whatnot. I will listen to anything from the 90s. I've been on a big yacht rock kick lately. I've been listening.
What is yacht rock? You have to enlighten me.
It's smooth music. High production value soft rock from the late 70s, early 80s. I've been listening to a lot of Doobie Brothers lately. I don't know why. Look, as it says on the slide, the collective sum of my taste is atrocious and unpalatable. Do not ask me about what I like. I will only serve to disappoint you. Thank you.
Nice.
Okay, Tara, you're up.
Sure. So my VGM influences, I'm sure a lot of these people you have heard of and know and love. So of course, Nobuo Uematsu, Final Fantasy series. Come on, how can you not love the music he makes? Especially, I'm biased. Final Fantasy VI, Terra is main character, so I mean, of course. Also, I love Mitsuda. I did a Chrono Cross arrangement album, so I love anything Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross, anything that Mitsuda has touched, Xenoblade. Koji Kondo, of course, for Zelda, and so on and so forth. And then non-VGM, I kind of have a few different things. So I used to listen to New Age and still do. So a lot of just pianists. So Yuruma, and then Brian Crane, David Lanz. There we go.
I didn't click all the way through. I'm
thank you.
sorry. Keep going.
I completely forgot. Then I do listen to Two Steps from Hell, which was like super high, like energy, orchestral, like trailer music. I love how epic it can sound. I used to listen to that when I was doing homework for college. And then electronic, I also listen to people like Illenium, Gareth Emery, Alan Walker. I don't know if you guys know Zircon, Andrew Aversa. He's pretty big in the VGM scene. He did Overclocked Remix for a while. His wife, Jillian Aversa, also does a lot of arrangements. And then the other is K-pop. I love my Korean pop music, so that's kind of so that's a mix of all the things that I like that are not VGM.
I should have put J-pop on mine because that's actually real. Anyway, let's just move on. Okay, I'm gonna tell you what my influences are in pictures. So. The Super Nintendo Entertainment System. This is my favorite. This is my favorite gaming console of all time. So much so that I made an album of nothing but probably my most favorite SNES tunes. So yeah, even though that's not necessarily like a band or an artist or whatever, like it's the console. So and I liken like a lot of nostalgia and some of the best years of my childhood just playing the Super Nintendo. But then now we're actually seeing some things that just cross over into exactly what Carrie and Tara like. This is Mitsuda. He did the soundtracks for Chrono Cross, Chrono Trigger, Xenogears. I don't know. I kind of feel like he edges out Uematsu a little bit for me. That may be an unpopular opinion, but of course I love Uematsu. But I don't know. When I was putting this together, I gave the nod to Mitsuda. Okay, now, yes, Dark Souls. I love Soulsborne games too much for my own good. That best album award that I got was for a Bloodborne album, and Tara was on that.
Hey.
She helps open the album with some really, really killer vocals. A friend of mine got me hooked on Dark Souls, the very first one back in 2011, and it was extremely frustrating. I died over and over, and I couldn't quit playing, and I've turned into a mega fan, yeah. And Beavis and Butthead. So why are Beavis and Butthead on here? So I grew up listening, watching, whatever you want to say, to Beavis and Butthead, and it wasn't necessarily about like the show. It was more about the music videos that they watched. So that's when I got exposed to metal bands like Megadeth and Pantera and Metallica, and like that was like kind of the gateway into everything else, and a bunch of other dominoes just kind of fell after that. So it wasn't necessarily about the characters, it was just the show and the music videos that they watched on MTV when I was a kid. So, okay, let's talk about genres next. Carrie, you're up.
Quick save genres. These are all things that we play. I don't know that I could describe quick save with a single genre. Quick save plays what we got a horn section, so it's what can I add horns to? I can add horns to FF14 music, but we also added horns to Live and Learn from Sonic Adventure 2. So, BGSO is. The Baltimore Gamer Symphony Orchestra is about a 65-person all-volunteer orchestra that's based out of Dundalk. It is also free to join for anyone local who's looking for an ensemble to play with. would sometimes do what I would consider some more traditional orchestral stylings of tunes with big sweeping strings playing nice chords and nice runs and like a lovely little flute run and like a big choir, and I would consider that some more traditional stuff. But I would also say more often than not, I am simply like slamming a song at our available instrumentation until something cool comes out. So yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Tara.
All right. So for me, I tend to stick to the, I guess, hybrid genre of blending orchestral, more symphonic, like string ensemble, with like electronic. And so typically it's instrumental in nature. There are some tracks that I've covered that I do, like if it already has lyrics, I'll, obviously sing the lyrics. But typically I'll just, like, if there's vocals, I'll do like a vocal ooh, but typically instrumental. There are some new age elements that I include as well. And my whole spiel in terms of violin and vocals is about layers. So I record like tons of takes, and I layer them, I pan them, I EQ them, so that it sounds like it's an actual ensemble when it's actually all just me. So that's pretty much the gist of it.
Actually, I have a question. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Sure.
So when you do all this layering with vocals and violin or in whatever instruments you're working on, how do you make it sound distinct? Like, let's say there's 8 vocal lines that are all you. Mm-hmm. Is it obvious that it's all you, or do you do some tricks to make it seem like it could be 8 different people?
I like how it sounds when it's uniform, and I've had issues in phasing because of that, because they're all very similar in nature. But I do my best to, do post-production to kind of mitigate that. And I feel like my voice just in general just blends really well with itself, if that makes sense. So I don't really have that issue of, like having to diversify too much. For strings, a little bit. Sometimes I'll play the viola, but it'll be the violin part, but the viola will play it just so that we have a little bit of some sort of timbre difference and some diversity in that. But for vocals, I usually don't really alter it too much.
Cool, thanks. And notice how I just asked a question on the spot. You were all free to do that too. I know there's no microphone for the audience, but if you have a question, you can just yell it out. And we are going to leave time for Q&A at the end, and we'll stick around and all that kind of stuff. Okay, next. My influences, yes, I've mentioned Metallica. So I think this particular performance, this actually wasn't S&M. This might have been S&M too. But anyway, in the late 90s, Metallica did a project where they took their songs and they brought in an orchestra, and they had somebody arrange their songs with an orchestra, and they did a live performance of the whole thing, and it became a live record. And I'd consider that like a pretty important turning point for me. That was like my first real exposure to bringing in another genre into the genre that I already liked. And so then I'll build this out some more. So this is the band Opeth, huge fan of theirs, and I love many, many bands, but I can probably put kind of put that center of gravity on Opeth because they bring in a lot of influences. And it's like, it's like prog and metal and death metal and prog metal, and now it's even kind of jazzy these days. So I absolutely love Opeth. This is Gojira, so a little more grindcore. That's their kind of stuff, and their flavor of stuff is what I've been really into lately. A lot of that type of influence went into my Bloodborne album. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Seattle grunge. I probably early to mid, again, Beavis and Butthead. Soundgarden, I was exposed to Soundgarden, and I'm kind of again putting the center of gravity on Soundgarden because there's so many Seattle grunge bands from that era that I could definitely pick on. But for me, it's Soundgarden, and I will die on a pedestal to say that Chris Cornell is the best male vocalist of all time, and I am a Swiftie. I'm not making this up. Like, I actually listened to Midnights twice last week, and it was kind of like my mag prep mode where I was like I was working on this and like some other things, and it's just like some real relaxing, chill stuff. But it hits you in the feels too, because like once you really listen to her lyrics, I wish I was part of the Ticketmaster takedown. I did not participate in that, but at least I would have felt like I was fighting corporate America as a Swiftie. So, Okay, now we get to the real fun stuff. All right, so breaking it down. So again, the way this is going to work is each one of us has picked an arrangement that we've each done. We break it down, we talk about it, and then we have our mystery song. So Carrie, go for it.
Cool. So I'm going to be talking about Big Earl Bump from Toe Jam and Earl for the Sega Genesis. This is part of a larger arrangement that's a medley of 3 songs that I have done with both QuickSave and the BGSO. So we're going to look at the original and then the QuickSave version and then the orchestral version. So take it to the next slide. I work in a little piece of software known as Finale. It is the absolute bane of my existence, and I hate it every time I open it, but it's like a Stockholm Syndrome kind of situation with Finale at this point. But regardless, this is the original. This is what the MIDI looks like when it is imported, and then I actually assign the correct instruments to it. So the Sega Genesis, if you're unaware, used a Yamaha sound chip called the YM2612, which was a 6-channel sound chip that could have up to 6 noises simultaneously. So that's not a lot in the grand scheme of things. So this only looks like 5, but this is actually 6 when you factor in both the hi-hat and the other drums for the drum set part here. So 6 total parts, but in the grand scheme of things, really just 5. If you want to go ahead and kick it to the next one. So this is what QuickSave's version looks like. It's a little more involved. We have 7 people in QuickSave. Again, herding cats. Talk to me about it after this panel. It's the one thing that I wanted to do with this Toe Jam and Earl arrangement is I wanted to do something with 2 bassists. QuickSave has 2 people who play bass. You've got me and you've got Josh, who is the one member of QuickSave who is not in this room, and I will not soon forget that. But we've got I wanted to do something with 2 basses because we had 2 bassists available. Josh is an incredible talent as far as bass is concerned, and I basically wanted to sort of have us sort of trading riffs back and forth over the course of this song. So there is a second bass part. You've got EB1 and EB2 you may be able to see on the screen there. You have a guitar part that Kyle completely ignored and decided to play on keyboard instead, and then you have 3 horn parts. The horns, I tried to... Again, I'm sort of splitting things up from the original here. I'm not necessarily adding a lot to this. It's mostly taking the original lines and sort of saying, all right, well, this is what I want on keys, and this is what I want on horns, and that, it wasn't a huge sort of deal. So let's look at the orchestral version. And it's a lot. This is me paring back some parts here. Normally I would have like a flute 1 and a flute 2, maybe a clarinet 1, clarinet 2, but this is basically, I want to say it's flute, oboe, clarinet, bass clarinet, alto, tenor, bari sax, bassoon, French horn, trumpet 1, trumpet 2, trombone 1, trombone 2, tuba, some extraneous percussion, violin 1, violin 2, viola, cello, bass, electric bass, keyboards in there. And how I got to this point in time was staying up really late and not taking my ADHD medication. It's a lot. I mean, it's tough. A lot of this sort of approach here is further splitting up parts so that like the horn hits in the trumpet section hit a little bit harder when they come in because you haven't heard the trumpets in several measures at that point. Also, a fun way to make anything sound orchestral is to have violins playing chords underneath it. That automatically makes things sound more orchestral. So having done the chord analysis on this song and like you get, all right, well, here's your sort of structure here, even though there isn't necessarily a instrument that's like playing the chord in the original version, you can sort of extrapolate what the progression is regardless, and then reapply that back in. I also made the keyboard part, or what was originally sort of like a clavinet part, stand out a little bit more by giving it to our very energetic woodwinds. And yeah, so we can go ahead and just have what that sounds like. I put together a video that gives you the same part of the song 3 times. So
All right, here we go.
Cool.
All right, nicely done.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're right about that woodwind section. They
Dude,
really
our
get in there.
woodwinds are on fire. You can see some of them tomorrow morning, and I'll talk more about that later. But yeah, so
Okay,
I
yeah.
mean, Big Earl Bump is again to go from 6, again really 5 instruments, and then to have to take that and be like, okay, cool. So now we have 65 people, and how are we going to take this? I'm fortunate enough to have had somewhat of a formal music education in high school and in college. So like I have enough theory knowledge that I can like pull this off. And I'm fortunate enough to have multiple ensembles at my disposal to throw this at, and they just do what I say sometimes. So
Okay.
again, yes, let's go.
Yeah, it's weird. Okay.
Oh no.
All right,
okay,
here's
oh,
the
no.
mystery song.
Okay.
Let me just double check and just see how. Okay, 2.5 minutes. So, if you feel like you have enough of a feel for it and you just
Okay.
need me to stop it,
Yeah.
I will.
All right.
But again, Carrie has not heard. It's possible she's heard whatever song this is, but she has not heard it prior to this. So, she will listen to it and just kind of start throwing out ideas of how she would arrange it. So here we go.
For either one.
My immediate thought is that I would want to do this for the orchestra, to have like a big percussion section behind it. But I would also just want to like let Chris loose on this piece with the drum set. Oh man. All right, so pause. If I'm doing this with quick save, what I'm probably going to do is that initial sort of like crystally synth is going to go to the keys, because that's a pattern that repeats, and just do that there. And like there's a second piano part in there that I think would sound really cool on a Barry sax.
Yes.
So I mean, my nature is to give the melody to the horns, because that's sort of my default with quick save. But you know, if I'm taking the orchestral, like if this were to land in my lap for BGSO. I think it would be cool to have that repeating pattern in the strings, and then have that piano melody come in, maybe still with the saxes, maybe with a woodwind on that. What is this piece? It sounds vaguely familiar.
It's from Octopath Traveler.
Oh,
Yeah.
Gate of Finis.
Okay. I was like, yeah, that sounds familiar to me
It's
too.
one.
I
It's like
couldn't nail
the
it.
end
That is a game that I
but
played.
It's like a side quest, end game side quest is what I would call it.
Okay, yeah, no, like I did the boss rush, and then like the final boss like beat my ass wholesale in 3 turns, and I was like, I'm done with this. I'm not doing this. Okay, no, that's cool. Do you want more from me on this?
No,
or-
up to you. I think you nailed it.
Okay, all right, cool.
Okay, Tara, I think it's your turn now.
I think so.
All right, so I think I want to
Yeah, you just go ahead and
build
you can
this
play
out.
through. So the thing I'm going to be breaking down is my arrangement of "Listen to the Cries of the Planet" from Final Fantasy VII. How many of you guys already know this track? Okay, quite a few. Okay, cool. So I kind of did it separately. So we're gonna, because "Listen to the Cries of the Planet," I consider it has 2 distinct sections to it, like an A section, B section. So we're kind of breaking down like each one separately. So yeah, I can go ahead and click play on the original. We can just play that for a little bit. Okay, don't go to the next slide just yet. So basically, I took that section. As a violinist, you're going to be hearing those plucks with actual violin, which is kind of cool. So in the video that you're going to see, I did kind of like through text annotate the things that I've done to stylize it and make it kind of different and blend some genre. So you can go into the next one and have you guys just watch my video part of it. Okay, so that's the first section. Thank you. So in that section, I really relied very heavily on the vocals, right? Like that's the focus for that. And there's no vocals in the original, right? And of course, adding One Winged Angel lyrics, I thought that was kind of cool. Changed the melody completely, but I'm using the same lyrics. And you could tell, like there's electronic, there's some like orchestral, like with the string plucking. There's gonna be even more for this next section, so you can go to the next slide. Yeah, you're gonna do it. Yeah, there we go. So the next section, you can just go ahead and play as the B section. Okay, yeah. So then it goes back to the A section after, right? So yeah, that's a little bit different. So what I basically did for this one is I incorporated some solo soli, and I decided to go even further into blending those genres, which you'll be able to hear. Like it hits a lot harder, and there's a lot more electronic elements that I put into it for this next section. So we can just go ahead and watch it. Thank you. Yeah, the electronic stuff hits a lot harder if you're wearing headphones. I'll say that much.
All right, mystery song time. It's doing that annoying thing. There we go. All right. Okay, so I picked this one for Tara, and yeah, you can talk through it in real time, or you can just tell me when to stop.
Okay. Definitely heard this. Okay, at the beginning I would have done plucking for those little perk parts. The bass I'd probably put into electronic bass because I can't play bass.
I'll play bass for
Get
you.
some collab. Okay. I like it. I'd probably do vocals for this part. Or violin. I think I may alternate and have each one have its own little thing. What I like to do is I like to split vocals and strings so that they get equal opportunity to have like a melody. It'd be kind of cool to put it in viola though too. I've been loving viola lately. Okay, you can pause it. I feel like I should know that.
Does anybody know what game this is from? No, but it's by Mitsuda.
I feel like it has to be Mitsuda. It has to.
Sounds like a Chrono
Kate?
Cross song.
Yes,
Is it
it's
Xenogears? Xenogears. Okay,
And
that's
yeah, it's that is my favorite Mitsuda soundtrack, even more than Chrono Trigger. Yes, I said it.
wow. Mitsuda is right up my alley. So
Yeah, maybe I went a little easy on you by picking a Mitsuda song, but that I love that one.
Yeah.
It's also one of those games where it's like you just keep playing, and obviously the story and the music progresses. Like, how can the music possibly get any better? And it just does.
right, yeah.
So there you go.
That's a definitely good one. The bass would probably be the biggest issue for me because I can't, unless I have an actual bassist to play it for me.
I'm pretty sure that's a fretless bass in that,
Ooh.
and which I've always loved the sound of. Like Mitsuda uses a fretless bass pretty often. But any other comments?
Just that I'd probably keep it kind of like a one-to-one arrangement, and then when it loops is when I'd probably go into it and try to stylize it a bit more. That's kind of like what I do for most of my arrangements. But yeah, in general, that's definitely a good one.
Okay, so stay
Good
tuned to
choice.
Tara's YouTube channel. There will be an arrangement up in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we'll see.
Featuring Carrie.
Okay, my turn. The cliched thing to do would have been to pick a Bloodborne song. I did not. I picked something else. Okay, so there was this Castlevania 3 tribute compilation that came out about a month ago, and it absolutely rocks. A lot of talented people were involved in it. Syndravania and Viking Guitar were basically the project managers and kind of the project overseers among, I want to say, 25 different bands and artists to create this tribute album. And I picked for my song Prelude, which is the song that opens the game and also opens the album. And I've been scanning the room to see like who's been on that compilation. So there's one guy, Chris Doty, right there. You're gonna hear his vocals in my arrangement. I was super fortunate to get everybody's best talents into the arrangement that I did here. So, but before we get into that song, I'll play you the NES original. It won't be the whole thing. Like, it'll just be maybe 30 seconds, so you can just kind of orient yourself. And of course, if you've played NES games, you're going to have some idea of what this sounds like. Okay, so Carrie pointed out what the sound chip is on the Genesis, and unfortunately, I don't remember the name of the sound chip on the NES, but it only has 5 channels, and what you heard there was only 3. So this absolutely epic game with this absolutely epic opening has this epic song that is just made from 3 tracks. So then my challenge was to try to capture the original feeling of this, but then obviously put my own spin on it. So the way I arranged my song was the original is maybe about 1:40 to 50 seconds, and it just stops. That's the entire song. So I looped it twice, but then I applied some different styles to it with the middle section, which I cut out for the sake of time. So what I'll do is I'll play the introduction section here with this. So, thanks. Hey, we haven't even got to the good part yet. So the fun part about that was all I was doing is playing the bass. And normally I just kind of take over these things, but I was like, you know what? I just want everybody else to do their thing. So yeah, we had Scott Pennick on acoustic guitar, Kat on vocals. I mentioned Chris on vocals. He also played that really haunting piano line that you heard. and then I was on the bass. Now, you haven't heard Masochist yet, but he's coming up next. They crushed it. Yeah, so if you're a Castlevania fan, I would highly recommend you get that compilation. It's out there on the screen, but it's on streaming services right now, too. Okay, so as I was explaining, I am not good with music notation or sheet music like Carrie is, so I just kind of did this more simplified visual of what's happening. So as I already said, there's the NES sound chip is there's only 5 channels on it, and square wave 1, square wave 2 are kind of the the melody and like the rhythmic part, and then the triangle wave is the bass. And then this is what I did. So I transcribed like the main melody to vocals, and then kind of had both vocalists kind of like dodging and weaving with each other, especially in the first part that you heard, and then added a full orchestra. That was not a real orchestra. You can do so much with orchestral libraries these days. And then of course the rock, the Scott and the acoustic guitars. I did the rhythm and the leads and the bass guitars. And Masochist was on the drums. He did an absolutely killer job. Actually, what was kind of funny was in the first take that he did, like he was just going really fast, and it's normally counterintuitive to me to tell a metal drummer to slow down. But I said, he's like, you gotta take it down a notch. This is like a kind of a slow build song. And then there's the piano that you heard in the first section. There's like some drones and stuff, which I don't think we heard in here because I cut the middle section out. Okay, so we are just about out of time, but I will go through the mystery song. I don't want to try to rush through it. I jumped the gun a little too early.
Here's a challenge for you. Find the one.
Find the one.
Okay.
I have no idea what she's talking about. Yeah, she's had this evil grin on her face like for 3 weeks now. Like, I don't know what this is. All right, let's just do it. Oh. Okay, maybe I'll try that again. So my first inclination was to kind of play that really fast part on lead guitar, but I can't play that on lead guitar. I know what you mean by find the one. Okay, this is pure evil. I think I'm going to stop there because okay, go ahead, Carrie.
That's fine. That's fine. Points if you know what that is, but also that if you know what this is, but don't already know me personally, then you get a point. Yes, it's Golden Sun. Of course, it's Golden Sun. That's the Doom Dragon battle theme. It is the final boss theme from Golden Sun: The Lost Age.
Okay. Yeah, I figured it was from Golden Sun, and then when you were like, find the one, I was like, is this like a 63/64 time signature?
For this?
It just goes and goes and goes. I was like, where does this repeat? Okay. So yeah. Anyway, when that started out, like the first thing I actually honed in on was the drum kit. So yeah, I'd probably just do like that straight snare pattern and like just accent it with some rhythm guitars and yeah, I would try to do that really like crazy fast part on lead guitar, but that may be beyond my ability. There was a lot going on in that.
There is.
I would likely go through that pretty much straight through, like, you know, especially when I think about like, could I do that with like some of the orchestral stuff I do? I was like, maybe a little bit, but that would be tough with that one. Mostly because like there's so much happening in it that the arrangement would be extremely complex, and then like mixing it would be a complete nightmare because it'd be just this dense blob of instruments that you're just trying to fit on the frequency spectrum. So yeah, that was evil.
Look, you did Dancing Mad. This should be a big one.
Yes, I did do Dancing Mad, but that was 4 months of blood, sweat, and tears, and I will never do it again.
You're fine. It's fine.
Okay. All right. We are going to wrap it up. So final thoughts, anything you want to plug for MAGFest or just anything in general?
Again, my name's Carrie Wood, and I play with QuickSave, and I also play with the Baltimore Gamer Symphony Orchestra. You can find a lot of the BGSO folks playing tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. in the atrium as part of the MAGFest Community Orchestra. We sound really good, and it's going to be a really good time. You should really come out. I understand that asking people to get up before 10 a.m. on Saturday at MAGFest is an enormous ask, but like, it's going to be good. Also, QuickSave is going to be busking at some point, probably tomorrow afternoon, and then maybe again on Sunday. So follow us on Twitter, and you'll know where we are. That's all I got.
All right, go ahead, Tara.
Okay. Yes, again, I am TeraCMusic on YouTube. Things that I'm doing at MAGFest, I'm not really performing officially, but I am on another panel that is happening tomorrow evening at 9 p.m. It is we've got a couple people who are going to be also on the panel in here. It's called How to Create a VGM Cover Album. It's going to be in panels 3. But yeah, if you guys are ever interested in how some of us actually do that, because we have the licensing, we have, you know, all those other things that go into it, what tracks to pick, all that stuff. So if you're interested in that, we'll be doing that tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Other than that, I'll just be around. You can follow me on Twitter. I try to post on there every so often. And yeah, that's about it for me.
Okay, and immediately as soon as I'm done here, I'm going right to the jam space. We have the Chug Space Emissary, which is going to be 3 acts. Of just pure blistering metal. I'll be accompanying Gunderslam, and tomorrow I'll be accompanying Lauren the Flute on acoustic guitar at the Belvedere lobby bar, and then I will definitely be going to see Night of the Round. And then I'll just kind of be around at MAGFest. I have some stuff coming up this year already I can't really disclose yet, but there's social media, all that fun stuff, so let's wrap it up. That QR code right there takes you to a link tree with all of our social media links and even some other link trees, so if you want to follow us even after MAGFest. I've also got some business cards up here.
That would have been smart.
Yeah. We're still good for another 5 minutes if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, we got 6 minutes to answer questions. If anyone has any questions.
Yes. I am. Tara is.
Yep.
I'm bad at this.
Yeah. So if you scan that, it will take you to a link tree with. I know my Spotify's on.
My
there.
Spotify should be on that link tree as well. Yeah.
Okay. No. Technically.
Okay.
Technically, there are Carrie Wood links on Spotify. Thanks to Game Groups. Thanks, Alan.
Hey.
Yes, question here. No, the question was, where is the one? Is there a one?
There is a one. Okay, so Doom Dragon alternates. It starts off in 5/8, and then very quickly alternates between 3/4, 4/4, 5/4. I think it goes into 6/8, and then it stays in 5/4 for a hot second. Basically, it's a hot mess of a song, and that's why I wanted to make Mark suffer a little tonight.
Yeah, does anybody know the song "The Dance of Eternity" by Dream Theater? Okay, there's some nodding head. That's basically what she just picked for me. So that song has over 100 time signature changes in it. So, any other questions?
Hi, Chris.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
When working on instrumentation outside of you said it was your wheelhouse. What's your kind of process there? Like working on different things that you're not used to working with that.
I'll go first. Ask for help. Yeah, like when I started working on orchestral stuff, like I had no idea what I was doing. So it was a friend of mine's nephew who works in the music industry. He composes for like film and stuff, and I just asked him for help, and he sat down with me for a little while, and he said, "Here, go learn this, go do this research." So yeah, ask for help, and especially in this community, there's no shortage of that.
Yeah. For me, I've like worked with a harpist for the Chrono Cross album, and never worked with a harpist before. Figured, it's probably similar to piano. I mean, the harp VST sounds good enough and stuff, but I learned a lot from speaking to my friend Samantha Ballard, who does harp, and realizing like, no, those strings just stay vibrating for a long time, and some things just work better if it's like arpeggiated a certain way. And so like she would just give me all that information. I would like rewrite the score so that it'd be easier for her. So I really value those, like the input from the people who play those instruments and they know what works, what doesn't. So like basically piggybacking off of him, like just kind of ask for help and just be willing to learn a few things, so you can be even better the next time.
Babe, you know better than anyone I don't know how to write a drum set part. I mean, asking for help is something I feel like I need to be doing more of. I feel like so much of what I have been doing as far as things out of my wheelhouse is like throwing myself into it 150%. And then like having like the woodwind section of the BGSO come back to me and being like, "Hi, this is unplayable." And I can't just sit there and be like, well, just play it. Because like if something isn't playable, then it's not playable. So I've learned a lot about how different instruments function over the last 3.5, 4 years now. And yeah, there's a lot of that. But also I've become far more entrenched in the community at large over the last 18 months. And now I have people like you where I can be like, how does a violin work?
I will tell you.
I still don't know.
Well, I can't write a drum part either, but that's why I use Superior Drummer.
See, I can't write a drum part, but my husband is my drummer, and so he just has to deal with it.
Any other questions?
Yes.
How much are you thinking about like what you think will sound good versus what the players actually want to be playing?
Okay, I just want to repeat the question. Hopefully I got it. When it comes to arranging orchestral parts, are you thinking about that with the players in mind or just what sounds good?
I'm so fortunate to have the BGSO sort of at my disposal, and I've gotten to know a lot of the players over the last several years. So like, I know the capabilities of our sections, and so I try to write to those capabilities as best as I possibly can. I try to keep things interesting as much as I possibly can, and then sometimes the bassoon is just going to be playing a whole note, and that's just how it's going to be. Sorry. I try to keep things as interesting as possible for everyone because I don't want people to roll their eyes when they get an arrangement with my name on it. So yeah, I mean, I try to keep things as balanced as possible. Sometimes the melody's just got to be with the trumpets because that's just what it's got to be. But I try to keep things as interesting as possible. And there are several people in this room right now who will tell you that I am doing the okayest job at it. But every day I'm learning more, and every day I'm just trying to get a little bit better at it,
Okay, we are at time. Thank you for coming. Thank you for all the questions and your intention. We worked really hard on this, so thank you so much for coming. Have an awesome MAGFest.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.